A woman from Suffolk says she's being forced to function on less than 1 hour's sleep a night because of a street lamp which shines directly into her home.
Dr Maria Paskovich says it was put up after contracts on the house were exchanged and that developers now want to take part of her front garden as well. Laura Burns has more.
When Maria Paskovich and her husband bought this £600,000 home last December, she was planning on a life of luxury. But instead, she says her life has been ruined, all because of this street lamp. It was put up between the exchange of contracts and the deal on the house being completed. After she complained, it was switched off for 7 months. But 4 weeks ago, it went back on again.
I sleep very, very little. Only when I try to watch my favourite programme and I said third time, fourth time, I try to read the book and the same page five, 6 times.
And she's not just concerned about herself.
My main concern is that when I drive, I can kill somebody, or myself or somebody, because I'm tired.
At night time, the light shines directly into her bedroom, which now needs thick curtains as well as blinds. David Wilson Homes, who own the development, have offered to put a fence up, taking away 1.5 metres of her front garden, which they refer to as a service strip. But Maria wants a lamp removed altogether. The developers say that the land in question does not belong to Maria and that she was made aware of this when she purchased her new home. They also say that since then they've explained this several times and that while they're sorry she's upset, they're unable to do anything about the current situation. But Maria is not giving up and is adamant a solution can be reached so that she can finally get the sleep she needs. Laura Burns, Anglia News, Newmarket in Suffolk.
A school in Essex has been broken into by thieves twice in a week. Burglars stole high-tech electrical equipment from Clacton Coastal Academy. Among the items taken were 30 laptops and 10 camcorders. They were worth £20,000.
A survey of a disused bridge in Great Yarmouth has revealed serious structural problems. It was hoped the Vauxhall Railway Bridge would be restored to its former glory, but its poor condition may mean a full restoration is now too expensive.
Passenger numbers at Stansted Airport have fallen by 5.2 million in the past 3 years. Figures released by the airport's owner BAA show that they're down from 24 million in October 2007 to 18.8 million in the year ending last month. The fall is 10 times greater than at Heathrow. Now, when it opened 10 years ago, it attracted mass demonstrations and anger. But tomorrow, the controversial Oakington Immigration Centre in Cambridgeshire will close.
Now, the former army barracks has drawn attention for its treatment of detainees and long delays in processing cases. But as Alpa Patel reports now, there are mixed feelings about it closing.
A controversial immigration centre for asylum seekers in Cambridgeshire opened its doors today ahead of its first arrivals on Monday.
These are not criminals. Don't lock them up.
7 protesters have been arrested today outside a new immigration centre in Cambridgeshire.
It was dogged by controversy from its birth in March 2000. And in the following 10 years, there have been countless protests, dozens of escapes, hunger strikes, and even a health scare after a bacteria linked to Legionnaire's disease was discovered in the water supply. The former army barracks was only intended as a temporary immigration centre and had been due to close 4 years ago. But even up until last year, it held more than 4,000 detainees, making it the second largest centre in the country. A former detainee says Oakington was a miserable place to stay. He escaped from Afghanistan because he says the Taliban threatened to kill him. His father has been kidnapped and he has no contact with his family back in Afghanistan. His case is still being processed, so we have disguised his voice to protect his identity.
The day I came to Oakington, it was really hard. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, what was going to happen tomorrow or an hour later. Some people are really worried when they're in detention. Some tried to kill themselves, some harm themselves. It's really hard.
Despite the controversy that Oakington Immigration Centre has experienced over the past 10 years, there are mixed feelings by some that it's closing. I've spoken to one doctor who says that although there were limitations here, the facilities were better and access to green space is also better than other detention centres around the country. Pamela Cressy agrees with that claim. She worked as a chaplain at the centre for 10 years and believes Oakington was superior to other sites like this one at Yarlswood in Bedfordshire, particularly when it came to the contentious issue of detaining children.
I think in Yarlswood they're very restricted, and although they have good rooms and some teaching and so on, I think it's very much more prison-like there in the sense of bars, and they can't really see much of the daylight, and they certainly can't be outside much. So this was better for them in that sense, we felt.
Those who were held at Oakington have now either been deported or moved to other facilities. The UK Border Agency maintained closing it hasn't put a strain on the system.
When we took the decision to close Oakington, it was at the time when we were opening a new centre at Harmondsworth at Heathrow, which is providing 364 new bed spaces for single men. So the transfer of the closure of one centre and the opening of another has coincided.
Oakington looks set to become part of the planned Northstowe development to build thousands of homes. But at the moment, after a decade of notoriety, the site lies quiet and empty. Alpa Patel, Anglia News, Oakington.
Now, as we remember those who died fighting for our country today, a story now of a wartime hero who's very much still with us.
Leonard Fitch Ratcliff from Great Chesterford in Essex flew secret missions over Europe in the Second World War, dropping off special agents.
Well, now at the age of 91, he's been honoured in France for his wartime work, and Emma Baker's been to meet him.
Anybody who didn't have a little bit of anxiety was no damn good at all, because if you don't have any anxiety, it means you're a zombie and you're not alive to the possibilities of this and that. So you never took it for granted.
It is a story of remarkable courage and determination. More than 65 years on, Leonard Fitch Ratcliff can remember every detail. As a Second World War pilot, he led secret missions into enemy territory at just 22 years old, dropping and collecting special agents in the most dangerous of circumstances.
He would receive a message on the BBC 6 o'clock news, something like this, and tell Jim that there'll be a party tonight, and probably would you come at 1:30? He would immediately rustle up his team, and they would flash a code section so that we understood that they were the correct people.
To protect the secrecy of the mission, Leonard was never told anything about his passengers.
We knew absolutely nothing. We would chat to them before we went and that sort of thing, but as for names, no, never.
Among the planes flown by Leonard was the Lysander, one of which is now housed at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. Its ability to take off and land over short distances made it well suited to the secret missions.
This was a completely different type of flying with a different purpose, but certainly no less hazardous. It was vital to the overall war effort.
Now at the age of 91, Leonard is the last surviving commander of 161 Squadron. His heroic acts have just been recognised by the French, who invited him to open a new resistance museum in Bourges.
Do you see yourself as a hero?
Not at all. No, absolutely not. But I did a job. I enjoyed what I did. I had no hate in my heart. We had a war to fight, and we did it to the best of our ability. And I was no hero, but I hope I did a good job, and I certainly did it with enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm that shows no signs of fading. 65 years on. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Great Chesterford.
I do find it extraordinary when people like Leonard say they weren't heroes.
I know, we
It's quite extraordinary. Right, let's catch up with what the National News team have coming up next for you.
Coming up, how the government plans to overturn the culture of benefits it says is ruining Britain. Opponents are warning of the risk to vulnerable people with little work available. Have your say on our live web chat at itv.com/news. And The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Millions pay silent tribute to the fallen on the anniversary of Armistice Day. Join Mark and me for that and the rest of the day's news at 6:30.
Well, that's all coming up in a few minutes. Now, what a day. It's been blustery, windy. Has been quite...
Hideous is the word. Hideous
that was
weather.
The word I was looking
but
for.
then it is November, isn't it, Rachel? We should be expecting this, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that's right. Hideous is the word, but it is normal for autumn, although this is the windiest weather that we've seen so far this year. In fact, we saw gusts at Felixstowe in Suffolk up to gale force 50 miles per hour, and that meant that the port had to be closed for part of the day. And it was blustery inland too, with average south-west winds in Northampton up to around 25 miles per hour. And we saw gusts even stronger than that in Wymondham in Norfolk, but it wasn't all doom and gloom. Despite this blustery weather, we did see some such sunshine into the afternoon in Broughton near Kettering in Northamptonshire. So it has been a blustery day for us all, and these winds are only picking up into tonight as well. Let's take a look at the details.
There you go. It's not too bad, isn't it? The hideous weather ends for a couple of days at least.
It does. We get a little bit of sun on Saturday. Not too bad.
Yes.
Before it returns to nastiness on Sunday.
That's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for watching today.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.